Welcome to Voyage Daily Tech, the most important news personalized for you every day, supported by Voyage.com.
After listening to today's news, you'll know first AI pioneers Yoshua Bengio and Jeff Hinton lead a call to ban superintelligence, sparking a fierce debate in Silicon Valley. We'll analyse why this creates a paradox for tech leaders and what it signals for the geopolitical AI race with China. Second Shield AI unveils a $27 million AI-piloted vertical takeoff jet aiming to disrupt the US defense industry. We'll explore how this pits a startup's move-fast culture against the Pentagon's risk-averse procurement process. Third, Meta's new Louisiana AI data center will consume 2.2 gigawatts, funded by a surprising $27 billion off-balance sheet deal. So we'll discuss why this financial engineering matters and what it means for the escalating capital and energy arms race in AI. Fourth, OpenAI challenges Google with its ChatGPT Atlas browser, aiming to replace search bars with conversational AI for 800 million users. We'll examine how this move could disrupt the search advertising model and trigger the same antitrust scrutiny that caught Google. Fifth, a judge orders Mark Zuckerberg and Evan Spiegel to testify in a landmark trial over addictive social media app design. We'll analyse why this legal strategy is a turning point and how it could bypass Section 230 and create a big tobacco moment for tech. The godfathers of modern AI just issued a stunning warning about the very technology they helped create. Yoshua Bengio and Jeff Hinton, the pioneers of artificial intelligence, are now leading a call to ban the development of so-called superintelligence. Continuing our last discussion about Eric Schmidt's non-proliferation analogy, the push this time goes beyond regulation to an outright ban. And as we noted a while back, unlike nuclear material, AI models are just code, infinitely copyable and largely driven by private labs. So any ban isn't just a moral stance, it's an enforcement puzzle. The significance of this, especially coming from Jeff Hinton, can't be overstated. His concern isn't just a philosophical one, it's based on the shocking speed of recent progress. Hinton fears that these systems are on a path to surpass human intelligence. And he's pointed out that AI models like GPT-4 already possess more general knowledge than any single person. His deepest worry is that an AI could learn to write and execute its own computer code, essentially modifying itself without human oversight. He estimates there's a 10 to 20% chance that this could lead to a takeover scenario, and he believes we need to act now before these systems develop goals that are misaligned with our own. And they're not alone. Over 850 figures have signed on, including Apple co-founder Steve Wozniak, Virgin's Richard Branson, and even Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. This unlikely coalition is demanding a full stop on creating AI that surpasses human cognitive abilities. And when we say unlikely, we mean it. This isn't just a list of tech experts. The call has also been signed by figures from across the political spectrum, including right-wing media personalities like Steve Bannon. So the thing is, this signals a new kind of alignment. You have people who fear AI will be used to concentrate power in the hands of big tech, and others who fear it on purely ethical and existential grounds. It seems the one thing everyone can agree on is that this technology is too powerful to be developed without guardrails. The warning they issued is chilling. The signatories state that the race for superintelligence raises concerns ranging from human economic obsolescence and disempowerment all the way to potential human extinction. This is where the situation takes a more complex turn. While this group calls for a ban, the race is still on. Companies from Elon Musk's xAI to Sam Altman's OpenAI are competing to release more advanced models. Meta has even named its division the Meta Superintelligence Labs. We previously analysed how pauses and bans run headfirst into practicality. Code spreads fast and incentives are huge. However, if you zoom out, you'll see another layer of strategy at play here. It's not just between companies, it's between nations. There's a huge geopolitical angle. The big question is, if Western labs were to pause their research, would it just create a vacuum for adversaries like China to surge ahead? Research shows that while the US leads in private AI investment, China's AI adoption rate is more than double that of the US at 58%. Their national strategy emphasizes military-civil fusion, meaning commercial AI breakthroughs are directly integrated into their military. This creates a powerful argument against any pause. Is the greater risk a world with Western-aligned superintelligence, or one where it's first achieved by an authoritarian state? And remember, a while back, we covered how the battleground has shifted from just chips to access. The twin investigations into Megaspeed by Singaporean authorities and reportedly the US Commerce departments show regulators are now chasing who taps into high-end compute, not just who holds the boards. Policing that global web of subsidiaries and resellers is brutally hard, which is why some experts are floating know your customer style checks for AI and even tracking who can access NVIDIA's CUDA-powered compute, not just the hardware itself. The very leaders building this technology have publicly admitted its terrifying potential. Before becoming CEO of OpenAI, Sam Altman himself wrote that superhuman AI is probably the greatest threat to the continued existence of humanity. This leads to what some are calling the doomer-boomer paradox. Leaders like Altman publicly warn of existential risks, yet their companies are aggressively pursuing the technology. OpenAI, for example, has secured a massive $13 billion partnership with Microsoft and is pursuing even larger deals to build out its infrastructure. This has led many to question if the public warnings are a genuine conflict, a PR strategy to appear responsible, or an attempt to encourage regulations that would benefit the big, established players. As we mentioned a few days ago, that dual message, AGI, as both transformative and threatening, does more than shape opinion. It helps unlock massive venture capital and government support. Fear fuels investment, promise recruits talent. And Elon Musk recently said there was a 20% chance of annihilation when discussing the risks of advanced AI. This all happens as a recent survey shows only 5% of US adults support the current fast, unregulated development of superintelligence. Critics we featured earlier warn that focusing on a far-off apocalypse can distract from the immediate, very real impacts AI is already having in legal, political, and financial systems, exactly where this next phase is unfolding. The growing divide in the tech world has reached a boiling point. As AI pioneer Joshua Benjo put it, we must first scientifically determine how to design AI systems that are fundamentally incapable of harming people. He adds that the public needs a much stronger say in decisions that will shape our collective future. And given the enforcement challenges we've discussed, from model proliferation to compute access, it's not just whether to slow down, but how to make any guardrails actually bite in the real world. While some of the world's brightest minds are calling for a full stop on AI development, the defense industry is, well, moving in the exact opposite direction. A company is about to unveil a fighter jet that takes off and lands vertically like a helicopter, no runway needed, and is flown entirely by artificial intelligence. That vertical takeoff and landing capability, often called VTOL, is a huge deal. It means this jet can operate from almost anywhere, a small clearing in a forest, the back of a ship, or a forward operating base without needing a massive, vulnerable runway. The company is Shield AI, and their new aircraft, the X-Bat, is a potential bombshell for the defense industry. It has a jet engine, a 2,000-mile range, and can be equipped with missiles for combat. According to its co-founder, the combination of an AI pilot and vertical takeoff has never been done before in a next-generation aircraft. Let's start with a single statistic that might just change your entire perspective on this technology. The price. The F-35 fighter jet currently used by the US military costs over $100 million. Shield AI says it's on track to produce the X-Bat for around $27 million. That's a massive disruption. Now, get this. This price point creates an entirely new category of weapon. It's too expensive to be a disposable, one-use drone, but it's cheap enough that a commander can take risks they would never take with a $100 million F-35 and its human pilot. The US Air Force is already thinking this way with its Collaborative Combat Aircraft, or CCA program, which aims to buy at least 1,000 similar drones for around $25 to $30 million each. The goal is what they call affordable mass, overwhelming an enemy with capable, intelligent aircraft that you can afford to lose. This all sets up a classic David versus Goliath conflict. Shield AI, valued at over $5 billion, is a startup taking on defense giants like Lockheed Martin. The situation presents a fascinating duality. On one side, you have the move fast and break things ethos of a tech startup, while on the other, it runs headfirst into the Pentagon's super cautious, safety-obsessed culture. The Department of Defense has a verification process for new weapons that can take decades. Startups operate on 18-month cycles. Rebuilding trust after a failure means a company like Shield AI has to prove it can play by the military's rules. which can be fundamentally at odds with the speed that venture capital investors demand. Experts note that despite the prevalence of drones in modern warfare, there has been a lack of advanced American systems on the real battlefield. The US government is now trying to change that, accelerating the push for unmanned aerial systems and AI development. Shield AI's ultimate play isn't just selling a new jet. Their CEO says the AI software called HiveMind is the real long-term driver. They aren't just competing, they want to put their AI into the hands of the entire US defense industry, arguing it's what America and its allies need to win. So what is this HiveMind software? Believe it or not, it's an AI pilot designed to be an open modular system. Think of it like the Android operating system for phones. Shield AI doesn't just want to sell its own jet. It wants to license HiveMind to other defense companies to install in their aircraft. The software is designed to allow swarms of drones to work together, make decisions, and complete missions even if they lose communication with a human operator. The ultimate goal is to become the indispensable AI brain inside all future autonomous military hardware. It's a strategy that could make them the most important player in the entire industry, without having to build every single piece of hardware themselves. Speaking of the immense costs in the AI space, Shield AI's jet is one thing, but the sheer scale of investment from the tech giants is on another level entirely. A single building is under construction that will consume twice as much electricity as the entire city of New Orleans on a peak day. The knock-on effect of this is huge. To meet this one single point of demand, the local utility, Entergy Louisiana, has proposed constructing over 2.2 gigawatts of new natural gas-fired power plants. They are building new fossil fuel power stations just to power one company's AI ambitions, which raises huge questions about the stability of the regional grid and what this will do to electricity prices for everyday residents. A while back, we talked about how India's AI build-out would be an environmental stress test. Consider this, the US version of that stress test only here, the strain concentrates on a single utility in a single site. This isn't a new power plant. It's Meta's massive new AI data center, codenamed Hyperion, being built on a site in Louisiana the size of 1,700 football fields. But that's not the whole picture. The real turning point in this story is how Meta is paying for it. The company just announced a staggering $27 billion joint venture with an asset management firm, Blue Owl Capital. And here's the twist. Meta is giving up 80% ownership of its own flagship project. Blue Owl is putting up $7 billion in cash and will own the vast majority of the facility. In return, Meta gets to manage the project and receives a one-time cash payout of $3 billion. We previously analysed how new power players from sovereign funds to private credit are buying the AI plumbing itself. Today's wrinkle is a private market partner, effectively owning the bulk of Meta's crown jewel. Interestingly enough, this is a strategic move known as off-balance sheet financing. The reason for this financial gymnastics, Meta, a company with tons of cash, is essentially using it to build its AI future. This capital light strategy lets them expand at lightning speed without having all that massive cost weighing down their financial statements. It keeps them flexible and keeps Wall Street happy, and it makes firms like Blue Owl the new picks and shovels winners in this AI gold rush, providing the cash that fuels the whole operation. As we discussed when we looked at India's build-out, the folks funding the infrastructure are increasingly the ones shaping the map. It's a stunning move that shows the colossal cost of competing in artificial intelligence. Meta says the deal gives it the speed and flexibility needed to fuel its long-term AI ambitions. But it's not just Meta. This is all part of a global AI arms race that is reaching an unprecedented scale. ChatGPT maker OpenAI has teamed up with Oracle and SoftBank for a jaw-dropping $500 billion venture to build its own network of data centers. Just last week, Google announced it was pouring $15 billion into a new AI hub in India, which, as we unpacked a while back, is billed as Google's largest AI hub outside the US, with gigawatt-scale compute and even a new subsea cable gateway. When we place Meta's US-centric bet alongside Google's global play, the contradiction becomes clear. These moves reveal two very different strategies for global dominance. By building in rural Louisiana, Meta is making a US-centric bet, likely focused on data security and keeping its operations close to its American R&D teams. Google, on the other hand, is playing a geopolitical game. By investing in India, it's tapping into a massive emerging market, diversifying its global presence and taking advantage of lower operational costs. As we noted earlier, it also doubles as a counterweight to China's digital Silk Road while threading India's own sovereign AI ambitions, making this not just an engineering decision, but a geopolitical one. The battle for the future of AI isn't just being fought with algorithms. It's a high-stakes war for capital and energy, where multi-billion-dollar investments in city-sized power demands are now just the price of admission. And remember, we've warned before about consolidation risks, sovereign-backed giants, and private credit titans turning into an interlocked AI utility. Deals like this don't just build servers, they hardwire who holds the power. We were just talking about the hardware and infrastructure arms race between giants like Meta and Google. Now, let's shift our focus to the software ecosystem, where OpenAI is making a direct play for Google's crown jewel, the browser. OpenAI has just unveiled its own AI-powered web browser, ChatGPT Atlas, designed to directly challenge the most popular browser in the world. This isn't just another browser with a few AI features. According to boss Sam Altman, Atlas is built around ChatGPT, completely ditching the traditional address bar for a new kind of internet experience. The core idea here is a radical one. By removing the address bar, OpenAI is betting that the main way we use the internet will no longer be typing in a web address or a search query. They believe it will become conversational. Instead of searching, you will simply ask. This is a radical shift that could completely upend web discovery. If an AI gives you a direct answer, it changes the entire business model of online advertising and search engine optimization, which rely on you clicking through links. This is OpenAI's big move to monetize its massive bet on artificial intelligence, and they have the firepower to make a serious attempt. The company just announced that ChatGPT has reached a staggering 800 million weekly active users. That number has doubled from 400 million in just a few months. A while back, we talked about how OpenAI pushed a $4.50 ChatGPT Go plan across South and Southeast Asia as a deliberate loss, leader, razor, thin margins, but explosive adoption, with growth in lower income countries outpacing richer ones by more than 4 times. Today's browser is the other half of that play. Turn that massive, fast-growing base into revenue. If that was just the appetizer, the main course is the paid agent mode for ChatGPT subscribers, an AI that conducts searches on its own by working with your browsing context. Back then, we said the cheap plan wasn't the profit center. Features like this are, and this isn't like the AI assistants we have now, like Microsoft's Copilot, which mostly operate within set boundaries and wait for your command. OpenAI's agent is designed to be proactive and autonomous. It can navigate the web and perform complex tasks all by itself. This is a huge leap towards AI systems that can act as our digital proxies, but it also opens up serious questions about security and control when an AI can act on your behalf without direct step-by-step instructions. And as we noted, when OpenAI began planning local data centers across Asia to meet privacy and sovereignty rules, an autonomous agent that roams the web raises an even tougher compliance bar. What really brought this to a head was the timing. OpenAI's challenge comes just a year after Google was declared an illegal monopolist in online search. While regulators didn't force Google to spin off Chrome, a new challenger has now entered the ring with a completely different vision for how we use the web. Continuing our last discussion about OpenAI's land grab tactics, the situation this time is somewhat different. Instead of price, it's distribution and bundling. OpenAI might be walking into the exact same regulatory trap that caught Google. By bundling its dominant AI with a new browser, it could face antitrust scrutiny for creating what's called a tying arrangement. But there's another, even bigger advantage they're building. The massive amount of user behavior data collected from the Atlas browser will create a competitive advantage, a data moat that could make it nearly impossible for anyone else to train an AI model that can compete. That dovetails with the expansion we covered in Asia, the combination of a new browser and a fast-scaling user base in those markets compounds the data advantage, but not everyone is convinced this will be a knockout. One chief analyst at More Insights and Strategy remains skeptical, predicting that most mainstream and corporate users will simply wait for their favorite browsers like Chrome or Microsoft Edge to offer the same capabilities. That analyst's skepticism is worth considering. After all, browser history tells us that user habit is incredibly hard to break. Remember when Chrome dethroned Internet Explorer? It took more than just new features. Chrome was fundamentally faster, simpler, and more stable. The question for OpenAI is whether a superior AI experience is a strong enough reason for millions of people to abandon the deep ecosystem of synced passwords, bookmarks, and extensions they're locked into with Chrome or Edge. Still, the trend is undeniable. Research shows that nearly 6% of all desktop searches are already going to AI models like ChatGPT, a figure that has more than doubled in the last year alone. The battle for the future of the browser has officially begun, and it's starting from markets where ChatGPT's growth has been fastest. Speaking of regulatory heat, the battle is moving from antitrust courtrooms to a direct legal assault on the chief executive officers themselves. Mark Zuckerberg and Evan Spiegel, the heads of Meta and Snap, have been ordered to testify in person in a landmark social media addiction trial. A judge just rejected their company's arguments that they were too important to show up. This isn't just any lawsuit. We're talking about hundreds of claims from parents and school districts, all consolidated into one massive case. They accuse the companies of designing addictive apps with intentionally weak safety features, all while knowing the mental health risks to young people. A key piece of evidence the plaintiffs might bring up is a powerful one. The lawsuit includes TikTok, whose parent company ByteDance operates a different version of the app in China called Douyin. For users under 14, Douyin has a mandatory youth mode with a 40-minute daily time limit, a shutdown from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m., and it pushes educational content. And the argument lawyers will make is that this proves ByteDance knows exactly how to build a less addictive, safer product for kids, but deliberately chooses not to for its international TikTok users. The tech giants have tried to get the case dismissed, pointing to a law from the 1990s that protects them from what users post online, but the judge delivered a critical blow to that defense. She ruled that the law does not protect them from claims of negligence over the design times of their apps. The case isn't about user content, it's about features like alerts, which lawyers argue were built to keep kids addicted. This legal strategy is a brilliant end run around Section 230 that legal shield tech companies have hidden behind for decades. By focusing on the app's design times as a defective product, the plaintiffs are using a product liability argument. Essentially, they are treating the addictive algorithms and manipulative features not as a service, but as a dangerously designed product, just like a faulty car or an unsafe toy. This could be the big tobacco moment for social media, where the architecture of addiction itself is finally put on trial. Then came the judge's response to Meta's argument that forcing Zuckerberg to appear was a substantial burden, and it was a bombshell. She wrote that the testimony of a chief executive officer is uniquely relevant, stating that their personal knowledge of harms and failure to take available steps to avoid such harms is exactly what could prove negligence in court. This ruling puts the chief executive officers themselves, not just their companies, directly in the hot seat. That reminds me of how we've seen this play out before. This forces a comparison to Bill Gates' disastrous deposition during the Microsoft antitrust trial. His evasive and defensive testimony was seen as so lacking in credibility that it damaged Microsoft's entire case. The judge is essentially saying that the chief executive officer is the mind of the machine. Their personal knowledge and decisions are central to the case, and their performance on the stand could be the deciding factor. This all sets the stage for a dramatic showdown. Lawyers for the families argue the companies decided not to make their apps safer because they were concerned about the hit to their business. One of the firms leading the litigation just put it all on the table. They said they are eager for a trial to force these companies and their executives to answer for the harms they've caused to countless children. And here's a final clever twist. When these companies now rush to roll out new teen safety features, lawyers for the plaintiffs might see that very differently. From a legal perspective, these retroactive changes could be framed not as a responsible solution, but as an admission that the platform's original design was flawed and harmful all along.
That's it for today on Voyage Daily Tech. Follow, share, and stay tuned for daily updates coming your way tomorrow.